The wind howled across the empty plains of Draenor 7. The sky was dark, with thick purple clouds rolling slowly above. Jake Mercer stood outside his shelter, scanning the horizon with his old binoculars. He was alone here, just a human technician, sent to monitor a communication relay on this remote alien moon. Jake had been on Draenor 7 for 5 months. Nothing exciting ever happened. Just dust, wind, and daily system checks. But tonight, something strange filled the sky. A streak of fire, bright and fast, shot across the clouds. It wasn't a meteor. Jake's instincts told him it was a ship, falling fast. Within seconds, a loud explosion echoed in the distance, followed by a pillar of smoke rising from beyond the hills. Jake grabbed his emergency pack and his scanner. He climbed into his old rover and drove fast across the rocky ground. After 20 minutes, he reached the crash site. The wreckage lay in a small valley. A sleek alien ship shaped like a crescent moon was half buried in the ground. Parts of it were still burning. Strange blue liquid leaked from its sides. Jake's scanner beeped, one life sign. He rushed toward the wreck, stepping carefully over broken metal and sharp glass. Near the cockpit, he found her, an alien woman. She was unconscious, her body tangled in a safety harness. Her skin was pale violet. Her hair was long, silver, and messy, with dirt and strange oil stuck in it. Her suit was torn, and she was bleeding. From her shoulder, Jake didn't waste time. He gently lifted her out and carried her to his rover. Her breathing was shallow, but steady. Back at his shelter, Jake laid her on the small bed in the medical room. He cleaned her wounds, wrapped her shoulder, and gave her water through a straw. She didn't wake up that night. Jake sent an emergency signal to the relay tower. The reply came a few hours later. Rescue ship delayed. Solar storm interference. Arrival in 7 days. Keep the survivor stable. Jake looked at the alien woman, still unconscious. 7 days, huh? Looks like it's just you and me. The next morning, she woke up. Jake was sitting nearby, eating a protein bar. He saw her eyes open slowly, bright and glowing like twin blue suns. She gasped and tried to sit up, but winced in pain. "Hey, easy," Jake said, holding up his hands. "You're safe. I'm not going to hurt you." She stared at him, confused, breathing fast. Then she looked around the room, clearly trying to understand where she was. Jake picked up a cup of water and offered it to her. "Water. Drink," he said slowly. She took it, sniffed it, then drank carefully. After a moment, she spoke. Her voice was soft, and her accent was strange. "Where is this?" "Draenor 7. I found your ship. It crashed. I brought you here." She blinked slowly, then nodded. "Thank you." "My name's Jake," he said, pointing to himself. She hesitated, then pointed to herself. "Sayalari." The next 2 days were quiet. Jake gave her food and helped her move around. She still had trouble walking, but her strength was returning. They spoke in short words and gestures. Sayalari knew a little of the common human language, enough to understand basics. On the 3rd day, she sat by the small window, staring outside, at the purple sky. Her long silver hair was now tangled and stiff with dried oil and blood. She scratched her head often, clearly uncomfortable. Jake noticed her struggle. He walked over with a bowl of warm water, a clean towel, and a wooden comb. She turned and looked at him with curious eyes. "Your hair," he said gently. "It's dirty. I can clean it. If that's okay." Sayalari looked unsure, but then slowly nodded. Jake sat behind her. He dipped the towel in warm water and began wiping her hair carefully. It took time. The strange alien oil was thick, and the knots were tight, but Jake was patient. He worked gently, speaking softly as he combed through the tangles. Sayalari sat still, not speaking, but her shoulders relaxed. Her breathing slowed. Jake smiled. "See? Not so bad. He continued until her hair was smooth, clean, and shining, like silver under the light. Then, as he finished, Scifi turned to face him. Her eyes were wide and glowing with something new, something deeper. She whispered slowly, in a steady voice, "I know what this means." Jake blinked. "What do you mean?" She touched her clean hair with her fingers. "You cleaned my hair. This is important in my culture. It means trust, deep bond, like soul protectors." Jake laughed nervously. "Oh, wow, I just didn't want you to itch." Scifi smiled softly. "But now, you are more than helper. You are something else?" Jake looked at her, surprised. He didn't understand it all, but he felt it too. Something had changed between them. Outside, the wind still howled and the sky stayed purple. But inside the small shelter, a quiet warmth had begun to grow. A bond had formed. One that neither of them fully understood yet. The next morning, Jake woke up to the smell of something warm and sweet. He walked into the small kitchen area and stopped in surprise. Scifi stood by the heating unit holding a steaming bowl. She had taken the human food pouches and mixed something into them. The smell was strange but good. She looked up at him and smiled. "For you, I try make better taste." Jake chuckled. "Well, that's a first. An alien cooking for me." She handed him the bowl, and he tasted it. It was sweet, with a soft spice. Different, but better than the bland meals he usually ate. He gave her a thumbs up. "Delicious." Scifi's smile grew. "Good. Food is connection. In Velari. Tradition." Jake remembered what she had said the night before, about the hair cleaning, about how it meant trust and something deep in her culture. He looked at her carefully. "You really believe that? That what I did means something big?" She nodded slowly. "Very big, not common, only between life protectors, or bonded ones." Jake sat down, thinking hard. He had just wanted to help, to make her feel clean and comfortable. But to her, it had become something more, something sacred. He didn't know what to say, so he changed the topic. "What were you doing out here anyway? Your ship was far from any known flight path." Scifi's expression changed. Her smile faded. She looked down at her hands. "I was running, hunted." "Hunted?" Jake frowned. "By who?" She hesitated, then spoke slowly. "Velari people are peaceful, but some factions seek control, power. I found secrets. They wanted me silent." Jake leaned forward. "So, they shot you down?" She nodded. "Yes, my ship hit by energy blast. I tried to escape but fell here." Jake stood up and walked to the window. He stared at the hills beyond. "So someone might still be looking for you." "Maybe," she said. "But I hide well. And your place? Safe." Jake didn't feel too sure. His shelter wasn't built for defense. It was just a technician station. But for now, they were safe. He hoped. Later that day, Scifi explored the shelter slowly. She was moving better now. Her wound was healing fast, thanks to the med kit and her own alien recovery. Jake showed her the control room, the storage unit, and the small greenhouse where he grew herbs and vegetables. She touched everything with wonder. She seemed fascinated by human design. "So simple, so strong," she said, running her fingers along the steel walls. Jake laughed. "Simple is my style." They sat in the greenhouse for a while. Sunlight came through the glass, lighting up the green leaves. Scifi looked at a tomato plant. "This fruit, red and round?" "Tomato," Jake said. "We eat it in salads, soups, lots of things." She picked one and bit into it carefully. Her eyes widened. "Strange, but sweet." Jake smiled. "Guess we're learning a lot from each other." That night, as the wind picked up again outside, they sat near the heater. Scifi took out a small crystal from her damaged suit. It glowed with a soft blue light. She held it in her palm. This is Memory Stone. Holds voice, image, thought. Jake looked at it with interest. Can I see? She nodded and activated. A small light floated above the crystal. It showed a moving picture, like a hologram. A younger Scifi stood with a group of her people, smiling, laughing. The scene changed to her in a lab, studying something glowing. Then came another image, dark figures, chasing her ship, firing energy weapons. She was escaping, alone. The light faded. Jake sat in silence. That's what you're running from, he said quietly. Scifi looked at him. Yes, but I do not want war. I only want truth. Jake reached out and gently touched the crystal. You were brave to come this far. She looked into his eyes. And you were kind to help me. They sat quietly for a while, the only sound being the wind outside and the soft hum of the shelter. In the following days, they fell into a rhythm. Jake checked the systems each morning, while Scifi helped him with repairs. She learned fast, sometimes even improved his tools with her own alien tech knowledge. One evening, as they repaired a solar panel together, Scifi looked up at the stars. Do you miss Earth? She asked softly. Jake was quiet for a moment. Sometimes. I miss the oceans, the sky, my little sister. But out here, it's peaceful, no noise, no crowds, she nodded. I miss my home too, the singing rivers, the crystal trees, but I feel peace here, with you. Jake looked at her. The wind blew gently through her now clean, shining hair. Something in his heart moved. Scifi, he said slowly. I'm glad you crashed here. She smiled. So am I. But peace never lasts long. On the sixth night, while Jake was fixing a signal booster, his scanner beeped. He checked the screen. A strange reading, small, fast movements outside the valley. Not an animal, too fast, too quiet. He frowned. We may have visitors. He didn't tell Scifi right away. He didn't want to worry her. But he kept his tools close, just in case. Something was coming, and the peaceful days were about to change. The stars above Draenor 7 were clear that night. Jake stood outside the shelter, holding his portable scanner close to his chest. The signal he had seen earlier was gone now, but he couldn't relax. His instincts told him something wasn't right. Inside the shelter, Scifi sat at the small table, humming a soft tune in her native language. Her hands moved slowly over a device she had fixed with Jake's tools. It looked like a mix between a compass and a heartbeat monitor. She called it a signal harmonizer. Jake walked back in. He tried to act normal, but Scifi looked up quickly and noticed the worry in his eyes. You saw something? She asked. Jake nodded. The scanner picked up movement. Fast, not local life forms. Scifi placed the device down slowly. They found me. Jake frowned. You think it's them? The ones who shot you down? Yes, she said. They want the memory crystal. They don't care if I live or die. Jake sat across from her. Then we need a plan. She looked at him with calm eyes. We have little time. But maybe we can use your machines and my tech together. Jake nodded. Good. I'll rig the motion sensors. You keep your harmonizer running. If anyone steps close, we'll know. The next morning, they worked together. Jake placed old sensors and small explosive flares around the outer hills. Scifi added energy cores to boost their power. She also placed 2 small drones, her own tech, near the crash site as silent watchers. As they worked, Jake noticed something new in Scifi. She moved with purpose. She was stronger now, not just healed, but confident. While checking a sensor wire, she said softly, You made me strong again. Jake looked up. Me? She nodded. You gave me safety, food, care. You cleaned my hair. In Valari belief, such action creates bond energy. Jake raised a brow. Bond energy? Scifi smiled. Yes, a force that grows between two beings. Not just love, deeper, protection, trust, harmony. Jake rubbed the back of his neck. Well, I just thought you needed help. But you gave more than help, she said gently. You gave choice, freedom. That is rare. Jake looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. You're not alone anymore. That night, Scifi lit a small glowing stone and placed it in the center of the room. Jake watched as the light filled the space with soft blue color. What's that? He asked. She smiled. A bond flame. In my culture, two people light it to show unity. Not marriage, but a kind of promise. Jake sat down next to her. And you're lighting it now? Yes, because I feel safe here. And I want to show that to the stars. Jake looked at the flame. Its light made her silver. Hair shine. His heart felt full but confused too. He wasn't used to this kind of closeness. Not like this. Not so fast. She looked at him. You do not need to return the gesture. Just know what it means. He nodded slowly. I understand. Thank you for trusting me. They sat in silence, just watching the soft blue glow. Suddenly, the signal harmonizer beeped. Scifi jumped to her feet. Jake grabbed his scanner. Movement, fast, east side. They're here, he said. Scifi activated her drones. The screen showed 3 heat signatures moving through the trees. Dark shapes, humanoid, but not Valari. She whispered, They are hunters. From the Zernak faction. Not my people. Mercenaries. Jake grabbed his stun gun. It was old but reliable. Scifi took out a small hand crystal that lit up like a blade. She nodded. We stand together. Jake moved to the back door. I'll circle around and draw their attention. You guard the shelter. No, she said firmly. We fight as one. That is bond law. Jake looked at her, then nodded. All right, let's move. They slipped into the darkness outside. The wind was low. The moonlight lit the rocky hills. One of the outer sensors went off with a flash and loud pop. The first mercenary ran forward, tall, armored, and fast. Jake fired his stun gun. The blue charge hit the alien's chest. The attacker dropped, shaking. Another one charged from the side. Scifi moved like lightning. Her crystal blade cut through the air, striking the enemy's armor and knocking him back. The third one tried to shoot a plasma dart at Jake, but Jake rolled behind a rock and fired back, hitting the attacker in the leg. Within minutes, it was over. 3 enemies, down and unconscious. Scifi checked them and took a communication device from 1. They sent a small group first. Others may follow, she said. Jake looked at the fallen attackers. Then we need to prepare for more, she nodded. But now, they know I'm not alone. Later, inside the shelter, they sat in silence. Jake held an ice pack to his shoulder. Scifi was fixing a small scratch on her arm. Did we just win? Jake asked. She smiled. Yes, because we stood together. Jake leaned back, tired but proud. Scifi looked at him and said softly, Your actions were more than brave. You protected me. In Valari law, this means something. Jake raised an eyebrow. More bonding stuff? She nodded. You are, now, my protector bond. It is not romance. It is deeper. You share my path, my danger, my strength. Jake gave a small smile. Then I guess I better stay close. Scifi smiled back. Yes, close and ready. Outside, the stars were quiet again, but something had changed. Not just between them, but in the way the galaxy might soon see one simple human and one brave alien woman, now joined by trust, courage, and something the stars could not measure. The morning sun rose over Draenor 7, casting soft light across the valley. Jake stood outside the shelter, watching the smoke from the last night's battle drift into the sky. 3 mercenaries had attacked, and now they were tied up in the storage unit, unconscious and locked away. Sayalari stepped beside him, holding 2 cups of warm herbal tea. "The wind is calm today," she said softly. Jake took the cup and sipped. "Yeah, but trouble could return any moment." She nodded. "They will send more. They never stop until they find what they want." Jake looked at her. "What exactly do they want? Just the memory crystal?" Sayalari turned toward the hills. "The crystal holds more than images. It holds truth, evidence of what the Zernak faction did. They stole energy from living worlds, quietly, secretly. If the galaxy learns this, the Zernak leaders will lose everything." Jake's eyes widened. "So it's proof of a crime?" "Yes," she said. "And I am the only one who escaped with it." Jake frowned. "Why not just destroy the crystal? Keep yourself safe." Sayalari looked at him, her voice steady. "Because if we stay silent, others will suffer. We cannot let darkness grow in secret." Jake nodded slowly. He respected her more with every word. That afternoon, they worked on building a better defense. Jake turned old machine parts into noise alarms. Sayalari used her crystal blade to carve symbols into the ground, a Valari protective pattern. "These symbols confuse enemy trackers," she explained. "They will slow them down." Jake smiled. "Alien magic?" She laughed lightly. "No, just old science." As they worked, Jake noticed how easily they moved together now. She understood his gestures. He understood her silences. There was no need for many words. They were in sync. Inside the shelter, Jake connected the enemy's communication device to his system. With a few sparks and a bit of rewiring, he got it to work. A voice came through, a low, angry growl in a strange language. Sayalari listened carefully, her face serious. "They are close," she said. "A full group is landing tomorrow. 8 fighters, 1 leader." Jake sighed. "That's too many for us." Sayalari stepped forward. "We don't fight them all. We just need to send the truth." Jake looked at her. "You mean transmit the memory crystal?" "Yes," she said. "To the Galactic Ethics Council. If they receive it, the Zernak faction will be exposed. They will retreat." Jake scratched his head. "But how? Our signal tower is weak." She pointed to the hills. "There is an old relay station, far to the east, maybe still working. We can go there." Jake checked the map. It was a long walk, too far to reach before nightfall, but if they left soon, they could get there by early morning. "All right," he said. "Let's prepare. We leave tonight." Before leaving, they packed supplies: water, food, weapons, and the memory crystal wrapped in cloth. Jake looked around the shelter once more. It had become more than a workplace. It had become home. Sayalari touched his shoulder. "We will return. Or we will find another home." Jake gave a small smile. "Let's just survive first." They moved through the hills under the light of 2 moons. The path was rocky but quiet. Sayalari moved like a shadow, guiding the way. Jake followed, holding his scanner and watching the skies. At one point, Sayalari stopped and crouched. She pointed to a cliff nearby. 3 mercenaries were resting, unaware of their presence. Jake whispered, "Should we go around?" She shook her head. Too late. One of them saw movement. The mercenaries stood quickly, weapons in hand. Jake aimed his stun gun while Sayalari activated her crystal blade. They moved fast. Jake fired first, hitting one. Sayalari spun and knocked down the second with swift strikes. The third raised a plasma blade, but Sayalari blocked it and pushed him back. Together they fought as one, silent, focused, and fast. Within minutes, the attackers were down. Jake breathed hard. We're getting better at this. Scifi nodded. Because we trust. By dawn, they reached the old relay station. The building was rusted, overgrown with moss. Panels were broken, and the antenna leaned to one side. Jake walked to the main console and wiped off the dust. Let's see if this thing still breathes, he said. He opened the panel and connected the power line to a portable core. Lights blinked. The screen flickered. It's alive, he said with a smile. Scifi handed him the memory crystal. Time to show the truth, she said. Jake placed the crystal into the port. Images flashed across the screen. Energy readings, illegal mining, and stolen power signatures. He set the transmission coordinates to the Galactic Ethics Council. Ready? He asked. Scifi nodded. Jake pressed send. The signal pulsed, then flew out through the weak antenna, reaching for the stars. It's done, Jake said. Now we wait. Just then, the ground shook. A heavy noise filled the air, a large ship descending nearby. Scifi looked at him. They followed us. Jake clenched his fists. We can't fight them all. Scifi looked calm. No. But we can stand long enough. Jake and Scifi took their weapons and moved outside. Dust blew across the valley as the enemy ship landed. Its side door opened, and 10 armed figures stepped out, including a tall leader in black armor. The leader pointed at Scifi. Give us the crystal. Jake stepped forward. It's gone. Already sent. The leader growled. Then you both die. But before he could fire, a sudden beam of light came from the sky. A large ship descending fast. It bore the symbol of the Galactic Ethics Council. Scifi gasped. They came. Fast. The council ship landed between them and the mercenaries. A deep voice echoed. Stand down. We have received the transmission. The truth is out. The mercenaries looked at each other unsure. Their leader shouted, Retreat! In seconds, the enemy ship lifted and vanished into the sky. Jake and Scifi stood still, blinking. They had done it. Together. The dust settled in the valley and the wind became calm once again. The council ship stood tall, its silver hull shining under the morning sun. Jake and Scifi watched as a group of officials stepped out. They wore white robes with golden markings, symbols of peace and justice. One of the officials walked toward them. He was tall, with gray eyes and calm steps. His name was Counselor Ivan. You are the ones who sent the transmission? He asked. Jake nodded. Yes, sir. The memory crystal came from Scifi. She risked everything. Counselor Ivan looked at her and bowed his head. You have done a brave thing. The evidence is clear. The Zernak faction will be charged for their crimes. Scifi lowered her head with respect. Thank you. I only wanted the truth to be known. The counselor turned to his team. Begin securing the area, and check for any remaining enemies. The other officials moved quickly, scanning the land with small drones. The danger was gone, for now. Jake let out a long breath. So, what happens next? Inside the council ship, Jake and Scifi sat at a round table. A warm light filled the room, and soft music played in the background. Counselor Ivan returned with a data pad. We reviewed everything. Scifi, your name is cleared. You are now under council protection. She smiled softly. That is more than I hoped for. The counselor turned to Jake. And you, human technician from Earth, you played a big role in this. You risked your life for someone not from your world. Jake shrugged. She wasn't just someone. She became something more. Scifi looked at him with soft eyes. You became my protector, my bond. That will never change, the counselor nodded. Under Valari law, this bond is real. And under council law, it is honored. Jake raised an eyebrow. What does that mean for me? It means, the counselor said, you have a choice. Return to Earth, or stay with Sailari and help the council as a special ambassador. You two understand something rare, how to bridge cultures. Jake looked at Sailari. She didn't speak, but her eyes said everything. Later, Jake stood outside the ship, watching the mountains in the distance. Sailari walked up beside him. You are thinking deeply, she said. He nodded. Yeah, Earth was always my home, but it never felt complete. She looked at him. And now? He smiled. Now I feel like I'm part of something bigger. She stepped closer. You don't have to choose right now, but wherever you go, I will always carry the bond. Jake looked at her. What if I don't want to go anywhere without you? Sailari blinked, then smiled. Then we walked the same path. The next day, they returned to the small shelter on Drenor 7 to gather their things. It was quiet now, the danger gone. The shelter still stood, a little burned, a little broken, but full of memories. Jake looked around the place. The spot where he had first cleaned Sailari's hair, the table where she had made sweet food, the chair where they sat and watched the stars. Sailari placed a small glowing stone on the table. For memory, she said. So the shelter remembers our time. Jake placed his old scanner beside it. And a piece of me, too. They walked out together, side by side. Back on the council ship, they were given clean clothes, food, and time to rest. Officials came and went, asking questions, studying the memory crystal, and sending reports to other planets. Jake felt like he had entered a new world, one far from the lonely days of silence and metal work. Sailari never left his side. One evening, they stood together in the observation room. Stars floated around them, bright and endless. Sailari pointed at a small green star in the distance. My home world, Valari Prime. Jake pointed at a blue one farther away. Earth, smiled. Both far, but not for long. He nodded. I'd like to visit yours one day. She looked at him. And I would like to see oceans. Jake laughed. Then that's a promise. A week later, the council gave them both new roles. Jake would travel with Sailari as part of a new team. Their job was to teach trust between species, to speak in places where others were afraid to listen, to help stop more secrets from hiding in shadows. They would visit planets, speak to leaders, and carry the story of what happened on Drenor 7, but they would do it together. Before their first mission, they stood once more on the landing deck. Sailari handed Jake a small comb made from crystal. This is for you. He looked at it, confused. A comb? She smiled. Yes. In my world, giving this means you trust someone to care for you as you care for them. Jake held the comb tightly. Then I'll treasure it. She touched his hand. Just like I treasure the day you first cleaned my hair. As their new ship rose into the stars, Jake looked out the window. He saw the moon where it all started growing smaller and smaller behind them. Sailari stood beside him, her silver hair now tied with a blue ribbon he had given her. They said nothing for a while, just held hands and watched the stars. Sometimes, the smallest act can start the biggest change, a bowl of water. A simple gesture, a human hand cleaning alien hair, and a bond born not of blood or war, but of kindness. Together, they flew toward a new future. The new ship, sleek and fast, cut through space like a silver arrow. Jake sat at the observation window watching stars pass by in streaks of light. Sailari stood beside him, her fingers lightly touching the crystal comb he kept on his belt. Their mission was clear. Travel to worlds where distrust ruled, where secrets hid in shadows, and help build trust between different species. But Jake knew it would not be easy. Their first stop was Tarnus, a mining planet rich in rare metals but torn by political fights. The Tarnus leaders didn't like outsiders, especially not humans and Valari working together. Jake and Sayalari arrived at the capital city. The air was thick with dust and tension. Guards eyed them with suspicion. The people whispered in strange languages. They met with the city council. The leaders were cold and wary. "You come to tell us what?" One said, "That humans and Valari can trust each other? We have lived apart for centuries." Sayalari stepped forward. "Trust begins with small acts, like caring for another, like cleaning hair, like sharing food." Jake smiled. "It's true. Small things grow into big bonds." One council member sneered. "Words are cheap." Jake looked directly at her. "Then watch what we do." Over the next days, Jake and Sayalari worked hard. They helped fix broken water systems, repaired power grids, and even taught children how to read star maps. Slowly, the people began to change. They saw how a human and an alien could work side by side, how they laughed, shared stories, and looked out for each other. One evening, a small crowd gathered to watch Jake clean Sayalari's hair. He did it gently, as before, while she smiled peacefully. The crowd was silent at first. Then someone whispered, "What does it mean?" A Tarnus elder stepped forward. "It means trust, respect, a bond deeper than words." The people nodded. Murmurs of approval spread. Jake looked at Sayalari. "See? The bond is growing." She smiled. "Yes, like light through the darkness." But not all welcomed the change. One night, while they slept, a loud explosion shook their quarters. Smoke filled the hallway. Jake and Sayalari rushed out. Flames burned a small room near the council chambers. Someone had tried to stop their work. Jake grabbed a fire extinguisher and helped put out the flames. Sayalari looked around carefully. "This is fear. Fear of change." Jake nodded. "We'll face it, together." The next day, they met with the council again. "This violence must stop," Sayalari said firmly. "We want peace." The leaders looked away, ashamed. Jake stepped forward. "We don't want enemies. We want friends." A young council member spoke up. "Maybe. Your bond shows us a new way." The room fell silent. Then one by one, heads nodded. The walls of distrust began to crumble. Weeks later, as their work on Tarnus neared an end, Jake and Sayalari received a message from the Galactic Ethics Council. The Zernak faction had been arrested, their crimes exposed to the whole galaxy. The memory crystal had done its work. Jake smiled. "Justice won." Sayalari nodded. "Truth shines in darkness." Their mission on Tarnus was over, but many more worlds awaited. As their ship lifted off, Jake looked at Sayalari. "Ready for the next challenge?" She smiled. "Always." They held hands, their bond stronger than ever, and somewhere in the vast galaxy, a human's simple kindness, cleaning an alien's hair, was changing the fate of many. The ship drifted quietly through the endless black of space. Jake and Sayalari sat side by side in the observation room, watching distant stars flicker. Their journey had taken them to many planets, faced many dangers, and built new friendships across the galaxy. But the bond between them was what truly held everything together. One evening, the ship's alarm suddenly rang. Jake jumped up, rushing to the control panel. "Pirate ship approaching fast," the computer warned. Sayalari stood beside him, ready. "They seek to steal or destroy." Jake nodded, loading his stun gun. "We'll show them what happens when they mess with the bond." The pirate ship appeared on the screen, a dark vessel with sharp edges and red lights. It moved like a shadow, trying to block their path. Jake and Sayalari prepared their defenses. As the pirates attacked, the ship shook violently. Lasers fired through space, hitting the hull. Jake fired back with his stun gun's powerful bursts. Scifi moved swiftly, using her crystal blade to cut through the ship's internal defenses when they boarded. The fight was fierce, but their teamwork was perfect. Jake's quick thinking and Scifi's agility turned the tide. Finally, the pirates were defeated and captured. After the battle, Jake looked at Scifi, breathing hard but smiling. "We make a good team." She smiled back. The bond grows stronger with every challenge. Days later, the Galactic Ethics Council called them to the capital planet. The council held a grand ceremony to honor their work. Counselor Ivan stepped forward, speaking to the crowd. "These two beings from different worlds have shown us the power of trust and kindness. Their bond has changed not just two lives but the future of the galaxy." The crowd cheered. Jake and Scifi stood hand in hand, proud but humble. After the ceremony, Jake and Scifi walked through the city streets. People stopped them, smiling and thanking them. A child ran up and touched Scifi's silver hair. Jake smiled and knelt beside the child. "See, trust starts with a simple touch," he said. Scifi laughed softly. "And a little kindness." Back on their ship, Jake looked out at the stars again. "Do you think this bond can really change the galaxy?" Scifi took his hand. "It already has. One small act can grow into something much bigger." Jake nodded. "Like cleaning your hair," she smiled. Exactly. Their journey would continue, visiting new worlds, helping new friends, and spreading the message that kindness and trust could bridge even the greatest divides. Because sometimes the smallest actions have the greatest power. And in the vast, dark galaxy, a human's simple care for an alien woman's hair had started a light that would never fade.